Don't put it near mine because I'll take it
Take it by
with me.
mistake. Everybody's looking.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. Flag salute. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. This meeting has been properly advertised and posted in accordance with the Public Law 75, Chapter 231. And I would like to ask Donna if she could put that into the minutes, please.
Yes.
Roll call, Donna?
Mayor Cimpatti? Here. Mr. Chambers? Mr. Garth?
Here.
Mr. Walker?
Here.
Mr. Molyneux?
Here.
Mrs. Torres?
Here?
Mr. Frick?
Here?
Mr. Peterson?
Here.
Mr. Dennis?
Present. I need a motion for the minutes of April 28th, 2026. Motion? Second.
Excuse me, I had a question about that. At our last meeting, we weren't finished with that application, and I think John had to review it, whether or not how he was going to vote. Was that correct?
I think he rescinded his.
He rescinded
He withdrew the
He
application.
withdrew the application.
Oh, he did?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
you'll see us
Because I
at
looked
the-
in the minutes and I didn't see anything. Oh, should that be in the minutes or no? That he rescinded?
This
You can
was
enter,
after the fact.
you can certainly enter the letter that was forwarded to. the
Oh, I
board
just didn't see
secretary.
in the minutes, so that's why I was just questioning. Okay.
That letter, I think, was sent, wasn't it, Don? It was sent to everybody, that letter, wasn't it?
I don't think I got it. I was just looking at the minutes and I didn't see. Is that because he's going to come back late at a later date?
Yes.
Okay.
That would explain in the minutes what would happen if someone listened to the tape and if it wasn't.
Hi, Carl.
Okay.
Okay. All right, we have a motion on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, carry on. There is no resolutions tonight, and it's new business. Review the amendment to the redevelopment plan for the Gateway Rehabilitation Area.
Yeah,
Ryan?
so I think all of you got a copy of a summary from the city solicitor's office. They prepared the amendments. To give a little back history, this is the Gateway site, it's the former Acme site. We've had a redevelopment plan on that site for the better part of 20 years now. It's been amended numerous times. The last amendment was in 2017 for the used auto dealer mall, which was Great Persia. And at that point, we amended the permitted uses in the zone to allow a used auto dealer mall with increased parking intensity. The city is now entering into a redevelopment agreement with a redeveloper to use the facility or utilize the existing building to rehabilitate it and use it as cannabis cultivation and/or manufacturing. In their redevelopment plan, they requested that they be potentially permitted to have retail cannabis at the front of the facility. The city only has 2 licenses, so they kind of said, like, in the event we're able to acquire the highway commercial license, we would like for it to be able to be used at this site. So that is one of the amendments that was included in the redevelopment plan. Some minor things addressing setbacks, no additional impervious cover will be permitted on the site, is essentially the footprint that they have. But yeah, it's overall, it's a relatively minor amendment to the plan, the biggest change being allowing cannabis manufacturing and cultivation, which would otherwise not be permitted in the highway commercial zone or in the current redevelopment plan.
Brian, did they get a resolution from council sanctioning that the council is okay with them having a retail there?
Yeah, so the last amendment to the redevelopment plan, which was introduced at the prior council meeting, that's why we're referred here essentially. So council.
I'm not talking about the cannabis growing.
Sure.
I'm talking about the retail. They actually got a resolution from council
The-
saying that the council was okay with it.
The resolution at the last council meeting approved those amendments. Well, again, not approved, but introduced, because this has to be done by ordinance. So council, the last ordinance introduction that was done included that retail in the front as part
Well,
of the plan.
that's going to be a problem
So
because,
that could be amended. but-
no, that's going to be a problem because the Jeff Angeloni wants to put, he has a resolution from council
Sure.
stating, and he just recently called me, like last week, asking me what the status was.
Sure.
That's gonna cause a big problem for him, because I would rather see one at the Wawa site
Mhm.
than over at the Acme site. I don't agree with that at all.
Well, I mean, it's got to go back to council for adoption.
I don't
Still-
believe I was
Still to be
was I
amended.
at that meeting?
I don't recall.
I think I was in Florida.
We had already
Me and Meg
okayed the
went
one at
Florida.
Wawa, correct? We already
Yes,
okayed that
Yes, we
one.
did.
Yeah,
And
if-
he came before the
Yeah,
planning board.
yeah.
Right, they came in with a full site plan, but the license wasn't available, so they weren't actually able to move forward with the project. So, yeah, I mean,
Because that's silly. First of all, you have the other one, Medwood. What's the other one on the pike?
Atlantic Flower is the one
Atlantic
that's
Flower is
operating.
like right there.
Well,
That's
so
silly.
this does not create an additional license. What
I
they
know,
wanted
I
to-
know.
Yeah, they wanted to
But
amend it just in
would
case
have
they
some
could
sort
acquire
of
that
legal
license.
standing, Damon, if,
Who's
if
that? Would,
these
would,
people here,
would,
if we write that into the redevelopment plan, would they have more
my
standing?
position, and this is why I love what I do, because it's like Jeopardy. You never know what you're gonna get hit with. But my position with that would be that for the redevelopment plan that is ultimately referred to council for council's approval, is that it does not include retail.
I would agree with
For
that.
two reasons. First, as we said, stand here today, there isn't a license available. So that's the first thing. Why are you going to approve something that doesn't have a possibility at this point? Number two is because of what Mayor just indicated, that there's already someone in the process of getting an approval for a different site. So my suggestion would be that you proceed with your, the amendments to the redevelopment plan as Ryan has already set forth, but then going forward, it could be 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the line, if the city wanted to, if there was a demand there, if you wanted to increase the number of licenses, or if they wanted to obtain a license from one of the other sites, they could then petition council and the board to amend the redevelopment plan to allow it. It would be much easier to do it that way as opposed to putting the genie back in the bottle
Right.
the other way.
I agree with you.
That's my position.
Yep.
I mean, we would, just on the city end, a site right by the Wawa would make a whole lot more money than where he wants to put it, where the Acme is, for retail. I mean, think about it. It's a no-brainer. And we get 2% of those sales.
And it's really not fair to the other owner.
It's not.
So if the board would like, you could make a recommendation back to council that you feel that all of the proposals are appropriate with the exception of allowing retail cannabis as a permitted use on the site. And then council can amend the ordinance before adopting it, or they could refer it back for consideration, or any number of possibilities. But if that's the board majority's opinion, vote that way and refer it back to council.
So I guess before we make a decision, one of the things is that comes with retail is a consumption area. So some people have started consumption lounges. I think the locations that we currently have, I don't think a lounge would be permissible. And considering that there is a number of residents that live in subsidized housing where consumption is not legal and they jeopardize their housing just if they use cannabis, if they smoke cannabis at those locations. Sometimes a consumption area may be necessary. And the current locations that we have, I don't know if they can accommodate that. Let's put that out there.
Well, do you want people driving to this site if it became a retail site? You want them driving to this site, using the consumption, and then getting back in their car and driving home?
Yeah, consumption areas, or they have a whole host of problems attached to
Yeah,
it, from what I've heard. whole host of problems.
I don't know if it's the city's responsibility to provide a consumption area. I mean,
Yeah, I don't like that.
I want beer, but you're not gonna provide me a consumption area for that either, so.
Right.
um, But I do have a question. We're already zoned for one in highway business and one on, what's that?
Yeah, so this wouldn't
Downtown
change the
business.
city's license at all. It's one in the retail commercial, which is the former bank building at the corner of Arago, and then there's one in the highway commercial, which is Atlantic Flower, which is down maybe a block and a half or so from the Acme Center. So this wouldn't add another license, it wouldn't obligate the city to provide another license. It would provide the site owner the opportunity to, if they could acquire the existing license, or if the city were to create another license in the future, they could use that license here, as opposed to coming back to have to amend the redevelopment plan again. Essentially, they wanted to be in a position to be ready for if they could acquire a license, or if the city opened another
So
license.
theoretically, buy Atlantic Flower and move it there.
Sure, exactly.
Okay.
Or if the city tomorrow decided, hey, we want to increase from 1 on the highway commercial to 3, if they're going to have to come back in here to amend their redevelopment plan and do all that, they're going to be behind everybody else who has a site on the Whitehorse Pike.
As they should be.
I'm not saying right or wrong, I'm just, putting.
Well,
And that's
how
my
do you
concern.
choose
Sure.
between the two?
What's that?
How do you choose? Because they came in front of the board, I don't know, 6 or 8 months ago, the one next to Wawa, and we did approve whatever they needed to, based on another license becoming available.
So we actually approved another site as well, one of the liquor stores. The one that just opened, the one that reopened across from where, or next to our Wawa was. That one, because remember they both came in on the same night, and there was some discussion about who we could approve when.
We said whoever had their stuff in order first would get the,
Correct, but we still approved the site plan and the use, they have no license. So if the city opened another license, presumably they would be first in line, because they already have full site plan approval for a cannabis retail business. So, yeah, I mean,
Wow.
go ahead.
Mr. Chairman,
yes, Jack?
all right, I'm going to throw a monkey wrench in the works.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am. And this is just my opinion, with all due respect to everybody up here. This facility belongs in the industrial park. Okay? Now, I realize and I understand that there's money to be made by the city because it's free money. You don't have to do anything but host the facility. Okay? So, it's too much of a good thing. And look at Atlantic City now. They're saturated with these establishments, and now none of them can grow any further because it's diluted. So, I get it, it's generating revenue, and I understand that, and as city leaders, we're supposed to do things like that, but you're grabbing for the low-hanging fruit here. Okay, is this what you want it to look like when you go into the city? We're already embarrassed to have people drive down the White Horse Pike, what they see, the gateway coming in, and I'm not going to go through the litany of problems that's on the White Horse Pike, but I don't think this enhances the city or gives the city the image that I would like to see the future residents be able to take advantage of. And I know these people want to do this, but, and this is just, again, this is my opinion, and two things that I got a problem with is these developers. Number one is the site at the Wawa site. Now, I know we're probably not supposed to talk about it, but this guy came in here and he stated at the meeting, we know that it's not approved, but we're going to spend the money to get the site plan approved so that if we get the license, boom, we're ready to move in. Okay, so now time passes and all of a sudden it's ready to go. And now you kind of feel obligated, okay, a little bit, because this guy spent all this money, so yeah, well, we'd like to have another there. Lisa, I don't think you need another retail in a park.
We're not saying that, Jack.
No, I know, but the way that they go about it, now the
What we're
Acme
saying
site.
is if there's a.
These guys are carpetbaggers. The guy that is buying this property, he could care about Ape Harbor City 2 bits, okay? He sees an opportunity to buy an undeveloped piece of property that's been sitting for a long time, and he's getting it for a bargain. He don't know what he wants to put there. He don't care what he wants to put there. He's throwing stuff up against the wall to see what'll
Are you
stick.
talking about the Wawa guy?
No, I'm talking about the Acme site.
Oh, yeah, I
James
agree.
McCallum, the
I
guy
agree.
that came in last.
Whoever he was,
Yeah.
with all that bravado and big noise or whatever. He probably don't even own the property, because they're not going to spend a dime on anything that they don't think is going to be a sure thing. The property is set there 20 years. We've been through this exercise 5 times, at least, on this piece of property. The only thing that ever came even close to working out was Ray Persia, who spent a bunch of money on that building to rehabilitate it and make the property desirable to somebody. And was the car lot, the ideal thing there? Well, I think it would have been better than cannabis manufacturing. So now, the property has sat there unmaintained, they never finished the building, they threw a coat of paint on it, all the eaves and everything, the building has not been sealed, it's not tied in. They started to do stonework on it, they quit doing that and just slapped a set of paint on it. They're parking trucks in there, they're using the property for business purposes. Now, code enforcement should be able to go over there and do something, or make the building, rehabilitate the building so that you can get a CO for it. They sit on their hands, and then when you push them, they gotta do something, you get a bunch of noise like this guy made the other night. So, again, this is just my opinion, and I'm only one vote, but I'm against this.
Ed?
You know, Jack, I don't disagree with the majority of the things that you had to say about the site or different things. I mean, but I think you can learn some lessons. I think the real problem is that these businesses come in and you don't insist upon them bringing the building to a better condition and insisting that they have to put money into the building. I've seen buildings that have been torn down, or buildings in other communities that they've taken and rehabilitated. And you take a look at them, there's nothing wrong with what the building ends up being. Take a look at Absecon, what they did with the old hardware store, and some of the others. Take a look in Berlin with what they did with up there, with that building up there. They tore it down and rebuilt it. The problem is that people come in here and they're told that they have to do certain things, and then the board says, well, we're gonna cut them some slack here, we're not gonna make them do here, we're not gonna make them do there. The guy down here, perfect example, when I was in council, the guy who has the old boat company was supposed to put sidewalks and trees in. I still don't see no damn trees. The guy who bought the car wash, or the junkyard over on Atlantic Avenue was supposed to put trees and sidewalks there. I don't see a damn thing, but yet another business comes in, and the board just lets them go. We don't insist on them doing what they're supposed to. The problem is not that the businesses come in and want to put something there. The problem is that the board doesn't insist that they bring it up to standards and make it a decent building. There's nothing wrong with taking a building that's not gonna be something that it intended to be an Acme. If somebody comes in and you make them put the money into it, an improvement, it's an improvement for the community. I'm not saying that every building should be a
Yeah, but
thing.
it's not a board problem, Ed, because we.
It is a board, because you're the one who has to insist, when they submit the plans, either you accept what they're gonna do, or you don't accept it. And you don't give them a CO, or not a CO, but you don't give an approval until they do the
Yeah,
improvements.
but when it leaves this board, it's out of our hands on enforcement or code enforcement and all that, and. so
But then when the
that's not-
second one comes in, Jack, you let them get away with it too.
Well, wait a minute.
I hear what you're
Wait a
saying,
minute.
Ed, but you know.
I don't know
but-
how many times I sat here and I asked for sidewalks, and there was other people that asked for
I've always
sidewalks.
asked for it.
But if you don't have the majority, you don't get the sidewalks.
I know, but-
Everybody votes, then we'll let them
Well,
go
there
on the
was,
sidewalk.
there was a condition on the sidewalks at the boat works that was triggered by how many tenants?
Worth 10.
Yeah, and now the whole building is taken over by one tenant, so it should have been done. He's gotten away, look, if you didn't want him to do it, when the state fixed up the White Horse Pike, you could insist that the sidewalks and stuff go in there. I'm not criticizing you or anybody in particular, Jack. I'm just saying is that these are businesses. You can't dictate to somebody what kind of business they want to put there. But what you can dictate is you're gonna improve the building, you're gonna bring it up to 100%, you're gonna make it a first-class building, or you're not gonna get the approval. If you wanna spend the money to bring it to what we want as standards, that's fine. But you gotta say, these are gonna be our standards, and if you're not gonna do them, have the gumption to say no. You're willing to say no because you don't want another, and I don't disagree with that, there's oversaturation. I see what goes with Atlantic City and talk to people down there all the time. And yeah, there's too many of them. But other communities have come in and allowed these things to come in, and they've insisted that they improve the building or they don't get the approval. And here, too many times people come in, say they're gonna do it, and they walk away. And you know what? They can't get a CO. If they don't bring the thing and do the stuff, they can't get a CO, and the planning board can insist that they meet those standards or they don't get their CO.
I think that's happening, Ed. It's just,
Well, it's, they're getting away with it.
it stalls when it gets away from the
Well,
board and it goes
but they
back to.
can insist on it.
So I can say, bringing it back to this.
Hold, one second, just give me 1 second.
Sure. Sorry.
What brings up into my mind is Eurosports. Now, Eurosports came here,
Yes,
and there was a couple of us here that said, we want sidewalks.
yes.
It's not a business like any other business in the industrial park.
Agreed.
You have the public coming there, you
That's
have
right.
kids coming there.
Yep.
There was only, I think there was 2 of us that said, let's have sidewalks. Everybody else was okay with not having sidewalks. Now, that guy's been in business here for 23 years, I think it was, right?
He just sold recently, but
Yes, I know he
But the
did.
people, they would not got away with it in Hamilton. Hamilton would have never let them get away with it. And he knows how dealing with that, I'm sorry.
But no, I agree with you, Ed, that we should have a certain amount, a certain kind of standards that we stick with, but the whole board has to be
That's
on
it.
board, or we're just, you know.
You gotta get over this feeling sorry for every one of them.
Yeah,
I mean,
listen,
they're a
that's
business,
the
they're trying
price
to
of
make
doing
money.
business. That's the price of doing business.
That's
You-
it.
You either put the sidewalks in,
Or whatever the improvements are.
I don't think it's anybody feeling sorry yet. I think people have their own opinion. Everybody across this board has different backgrounds, different professional expertise, and they see things slightly differently. And we discuss it, and sometimes, and I'll be the first one to say, I would not want a single bush or tree in front of that building on Route 30, the old boatworks, because they're not gonna maintain the bushes. So no bush looks better than horrible looking bushes.
The tree
right?
growing up through the.
And the sidewalk has no purpose, it goes to nowhere. And we did put a term in place, the board agreed on it. And listen, if you wanna bash the people who made these decisions, just keep in mind, you know, everybody came with their own opinion, they based it off of whatever they felt was best for the city at the time. And to sit there and say that we feel sorry for people and we give them whatever they want, that's an
agree with you,
insult.
John, because
That's an insult.
I think that we wrestle every project pretty well, and there's a lot of, you know, sidewalk stuff and talk like that, but we put conditions on there, and you're talking about a couple of them here now. Once it leaves the board, how is the board gonna, Donna is not gonna go out and be a code enforcement officer, and she doesn't have any help right now. I don't know if they've hired any code enforcement, but once it leaves here, it's up to the city department, the code enforcement officer, to go out there and write violations and write summonses, and that just has not
But when they
happened.
come back the second time and they haven't fulfilled the first, then that's when you say
Well,
you
the-
gotta fulfill.
The property's
And it isn't
sold
feeling sorry for people.
to a new owner, and they come in and it happens all the time. The new owner doesn't know what the old owner had signed up for. And the old owner doesn't tell them, well, you know, you gotta have a trash enclosure and all that. That was part of my site plan approval, and it didn't get done. And he comes in there and he's like, well, I didn't know all that. I mean, that's not our problem.
So,
But it puts him in a bind too. It puts the new owner in a bind too.
What you said, Jack, is the majority of times what the problem is. What they need to do is not pass it on to the new buyer.
But as far as this applicant goes, I agree. I think council needs to rethink this. To Jack's point, this isn't a location where we want an additional grow facility or anything else to do with the cannabis world. We have 2 cannabis retail stores, we have other grow facilities, and there's other properties outside of the, you know, your main street of Route 30 and Philadelphia Avenue to put a facility like that. And if council wants to, you know, consider other areas, but I don't think that's the right place. And my personal opinion is it should go back to council to reconsider all of it, 100% of it, not just the retail. I'm talking the grow, everything. That's not what we need there. We need something there, but I'm not willing to cast my vote on short-sightedness to say that we'll take anything we could get now and then be upset that we could have had something better later. We've waited 20 years for something better. All right, what's another year?
What's another 20? The reality
We
is
won't be
that,
around.
the reality is no one will be around. If your town cannot survive, there's things that are coming, taxes are going up. The county, we haven't even seen what the county taxes going up, school taxes, everything. It's like there's no end in sight. But as far as the town, how that affects us is that businesses do not want to come here unless there are incentives for them. But most incentives, people have also decided, oh, let's not give that. Let's not even do the incentives. So we have businesses that that will not come, that could be attracted to Egg Harbor City, but won't come.
I
What-
don't think they're saying, I think they're trying to say they want something better, and people will come. But I think they're saying that they just don't want a growth facility there, but they're willing to work with other people under certain conditions.
We've
Is that
approved this
fair?
site for many, many other
Yeah, we
things.
did.
It's not that this board isn't unwilling
I
to
know.
be reasonable, but
And
I
I've been here
I
the
I
whole, I've
think
been here, I know.
there's certain things that you don't want on your home opener.
So just to be clear,
A growth
we
facility.
do not, Jack,
That
just to
just
address
generates
you,
2%
we don't
revenue.
want another
We
retail
already lost
facility.
one.
What, if the flower place on the Wayhorse Pike fails, that will be open for someone else. It's not that we want to add another one to Wawa. So that's not what it's about. And we have 3 groweries or cultivation. We have Dr. Traki, we have 1 greenhouse at the industrial, and 1401 Bremen Avenue. I'm not sure how much money they bring in because they're pretty much new except for 1401.
Yeah, that's something that's operational.
So if there's a question that the retail, the Atlantic Flower, whatever, if there's a question that they may not be successful, why are we entertaining another one?
Right, right in that area. But I personally think a Wawa one would be very lucrative, but that's just my opinion.
What's with the grow over by the railroad tracks?
That's not operational yet, but
That's-
they're
is that-
doing,
They're still
That's
going
not
through
going
their
there.
approvals yet. And that is, I believe, considered a micro grow, where it's less than 2,000 square.
And then Gene Charles.
Yeah, he's in the industrial park. There's only one operational at the moment. There's interest from Traki. There's an individual who's trying to move forward in the industrial park. There's interest in this site, and then there's the micro grow at 1123 Atlantic. We previously approved another micro grow at the same building you were referencing earlier. I don't know that they ever moved in or constructed there, did they, Don? Do you know?
Is that Gene Charles?
No, this is at the corner of Raymond, Whitehorse Pike, that building.
oh yeah. That's the,
1602, Whitehorse Pike.
Yeah.
Road, Egri.
Did they,
Agree.
a
Yes,
micro
building.
grow was approved in there, did they move forward? Or
Yes, building permits, and they've been
Okay, so
working on the
they're
building.
moving forward, but they're not operational.
No.
So at this point, there's only one operational in the city.
1401 Raymond?
Yeah, it's, the old,
It's,
it was,
South
it's
Dulles
designed as,
building?
yeah.
The old Dulles
It's
building.
designed as 3 small suites. Originally, they were just renting 1 unit, and now they've essentially taken over all 3 of the buildings. But that's the only one that's operational in the city.
That was Blaze Plumbing's.
Yes.
Yeah.
But to bring it back to this site and to address Mr. Davis's concerns here, the board actually approved a pretty comprehensive site plan and building plan, and he presented architectural elevations for this site. The gentleman came in 2017, he just didn't have enough money. So he started with the stone facade, he started making roof repairs, he started ripping up sidewalks and doing other things, and he ran out of money. And ended up having to sell the site to another developer. The gentleman that appeared here at the last meeting is the current owner of the site. He is not the proposer of this use. He is under contract with another company who would be the cannabis cultivator. From what I understand, they're like a larger national company. So it's not him. He would be getting, I don't know if he'd be leasing the property or selling it to. But it's-
Well, like Jack said, it's carpetbagging there.
Yeah, they don't live here, that's for
All
sure.
they're getting is a check in the mail every month. That's why he doesn't pick up his trash. That's why the place looks like it looks, because he doesn't care.
Yeah, I just want to make a distinction that the current redeveloper is not Jim.
Jim.
There's
Alan.
another party that the city's been engaged with in the redevelopment. He's the current owner, he's not the prospective redeveloper. So I just want to make sure that separation is.
So Jim, who came in here last week, he's a gentleman that's been maintaining it and has a status quo, which we're all upset
Well,
about.
I
He
think-
hasn't done
I think
anything.
maintain is a.
Well, he's not maintaining it, but I think we were all upset when he came in last week because we
Yeah.
weren't expecting him to show up.
And the grass across the street is 2 feet high.
Yes.
So he's just looking to flip the property for a nice
Mhm.
money
I
and,
think a half a
I
million,
assume so.
actually. I think he wants a half a million for that.
but now he supposedly is also the gentleman that purchased the land on the other side.
Yes, he did.
And so he is looking to possibly do something with that, right? So,
Yeah, I mean, I would think he would be approaching the city about updating the redevelopment plan to include both sides of the street and do something larger on both sides. That was envisioned 20 or so years ago.
So if we would approve this for cannabis cultivation at the Acme site, he could do the same thing right across the street, is that correct?
No.
Or no?
No, the redevelopment plan amendment includes just the Acme
But just
site.
the Acme, okay.
Yes. So it's just the Acme property and Acme buildings, it's not included across the street.
And what you were saying is, so council already reviewed this, and council said everything is okay, and we have to stamp our approval?
So they refer it to the land use board. It's supposed to be for review and recommendation for consistency with the city's master plan. So essentially, the whole discussion is supposed to be centered around whether the proposed use is consistent with the goals of the master plan. So.
Only you can tell us that, Ryan. We haven't seen it in how many years?
It's been a bit, yeah.
The master plan predates cannabis.
It does. So the master plan speaks to the site, it speaks to the gateway redevelopment plan, which existed at the time of the last master plan update. It talks about the potential for a diverse number of uses. The permitted uses at the time ranged obviously from stuff including the highway commercial, but included residential, included manufacturing type uses like light manufacturing, from what I recall. So there were other uses that could have been likened to this. But generally speaking, it was trying to bring in people. This is obviously a lot less people-centric use. There wouldn't be any signage really associated with it. I believe the amendment to the plan includes that there be no signage for cultivation or manufacturing business. So as you're driving in, you wouldn't even know. It would just be, a nice new building in sight. You wouldn't even know what it was, really.
No, you will know what it is, Ryan,
Well,
because the sign,
not by signage.
abandoned sign for the last 30 years that nobody has ever made them take down
What's that,
or
the-
change.
the
It still
Acme-
says markets.
Oh, the Acme sign? Yeah, so I would assume, they would have to come back to the board for an updated site.
Mhm.
So we could have that discussion at that time. I believe, if I was the site owner, I would try to keep the sign there as long as possible to preserve the rights to it, because they could never go back and rebuild that sign. But, if they took it down, they would never be permitted to install the same
Well,
thing.
at least take the markets lettering down and blank the sign off.
Yeah, no, understood. There's definitely some things they could do.
A lot of
to
people
tie it.
don't see stuff like that. It's like driving through town here and you go to the auto parts store and the clock, both clocks read 2 different times. And, is somebody supposed to be worrying about that? Obviously AutoZone don't worry about it. Does
Yeah.
anybody from the city care that, everybody's just abandoned and everybody's just given up?
Yeah, I think we've made them fix it a few times, but yeah, it's continued.
Then they should take it down if they're not gonna maintain it. That's just my opinion, I'm sorry.
No, I understand.
It's kind of like at the last meeting where we had the gentleman come in and he had this well-qualified tenant. So again, I'm going to rehash it again, but he didn't want to lose the tenant. So we're supposed to bend over backwards because he's got somebody that's not permitted use for this tenant. It's not even the person that lives here or he owns it, he's used himself. It's kind of the same thing, again, with this gentleman here that owns Acme. He's owned it for years and hasn't done anything. And again, now he wants to flip it, and then we all have to just run around and try and get things approved to make everybody happy. But then they just walk away,
So
the owners.
the difference is that was a use variance. He's coming here asking for permission to do something that he's not allowed to do here. In this situation, the redeveloper has already had negotiations with the city and sort of mutually agreed to amend the terms of the existing redevelopment plan to include this proposed use. So essentially, the city and the developer are kind of already agreed, we think that this is appropriate here. They're just referring it to you guys for, again, consistency with the master plans. Do you feel that this is consistent with the intent of the master plans, what the master plan envisioned, both for that zone and for this site specifically, since it's referenced as redevelopment plan and master plan?
So it's kind of like it's already been stamped approved, and we're just have to.
Well, there's a reason that this process exists, because if the board feels strongly that this is not consistent with the intent of the master plan and consistent with the intent of the prior redevelopment plan that the master plan refers to, then this is the opportunity for people other than council to develop that opinion and refer it as a group back to council for consideration. So it's not, it doesn't have to be a rubber stamp. You guys are all appointed here for a reason. They want your opinion, they respect your opinion, as mayor and council. So you're here to provide that opinion as to whether you think that it's consistent with the master plan. mean, understand that that's a relatively narrow question that's being asked. It's not, do you like this, would you prefer something else? It's just, do you think this is consistent with the master plan and the prior redevelopment plan? And if the answer to that is no, then, that's the vote that you take. And if the answer to that is yes, then that's the vote that you take.
Good.
Yeah, Lisa, as a follow-up of what Ryan is saying. Since you have sat down, you and whatever particular committee it was on council sat down and met with the proposed redeveloper, you've negotiated with him in exchange for him getting the approval. What have you negotiated? I mean, have you negotiated that
I
he?
didn't negotiate
I mean,
with
it's,
him.
I mean, if there's a negotiation, he's got to give up something or give something in return. Is he willing to put up a new building? Is he willing to act type of improvements? I mean, has he shown that the building isn't structurally not safe as an architect or an engineer going in? I mean, since it's negotiations, what has the city extracted or can extract from him as in regard to the building? A brand new building, a new facility, X amount, as opposed to just going in and putting paint and what on the building? I mean, it's a negotiation.
Understood. So I have not been directly part of those negotiations, so I can't speak firsthand to that. I know that we received an engineering report on the facility previously, that the walls, the floor, everything else was fine, that the facility needed a new roof, and then obviously all of the exterior finishes and whatever. The site obviously needed to be reconstructed. That was part of the prior site plan. I don't know if the final redevelopment agreement has been signed at this point. Do you know that?
We didn't negotiate with this guy. We just basically took his,
Right.
as
At
far
this
as
point,
my
we-
memory is, we
Mhm.
just took his idea and then put it on you, pretty much, to say if it's doable or not.
Yeah, so I don't believe that the city has finalized the redevelopment agreement at this point. I think we're just trying to move through the use. Because the redevelopment agreement is ultimately what that negotiation is. Though, what's a little different, most of the, and I know you've been involved in prior redevelopment plans on the city's behalf. What's a little different with this site is that the city doesn't own the property. So, in a lot of other redevelopment plans, we own the property, so the negotiations are a lot more direct. It's, you're gonna do this, or we're not gonna sell you the land, essentially. In this, it's privately held, so there's a little less leverage, but,
But there's a big leverage here.
but there's
And the
still.
big leverage is that they can't do the
This as a
development.
permitted use, I agree.
Do the development unless they get the approval. And what I would suggest, and I don't know if time is of the essence, evidently it isn't. I would suggest that this discussion be tabled and let the committee recommend that they go back, find out what they can negotiate, what they're willing to do as far as the site goes and the type of improvements. Because there seems to be some split opinions here as to whether it really should go there. And I think that the council should have the tools they need to negotiate to bring businesses that they think are worthwhile.
Well, they don't
But
have
I,
to.
but I, but I also think that
They don't have to agree with us, they can do whatever they
no,
want.
well,
right?
they have to have the recommendation to change it from here. What I'm saying is, I think it's worthwhile letting them go back, discuss with the developer, see what they can get, they get the opinion from here, but also, they need the tools to be able to negotiate with these. If one fails or they want to put something there, but I think they should be able to tell us that this developer is going to go in, he's just not going to do Band-Aids to this thing. And what type of building and what we're going to get out of it. And I would like to see council have that opportunity to discuss it further and come back and let us know that, yes, they think they can get a good deal out of this, taking into consideration in the opinions, that there is some hesitancy about giving it. I don't want to vote against giving council the approval to negotiate something that maybe if they get the right terms, get a new building, get a new facade, a new facility there, that is something attractive, because they are in other communities. If you go look at them, they're nice looking buildings and they're nice tax rateable. And it brings revenue, but that would be my suggestion, that they have the opportunity to go back and clarify what he's willing to do, and to give them the opportunity to come back to this board and say, yes, we can get this, we can address these questions. But that's only my limited opinion.
My limited opinion is that this should be, his retail operation is not consistent with the master plan. I don't know how it can be if we have an ordinance saying we can only have two. I mean, I'm sure you're gonna write something in there sooner or later, Ryan, that, addresses cannabis, and that would be a part of it, correct?
Into this redevelopment plan?
No, into the master plan.
Oh, yeah, obviously that's something that was not on the table when we first
No,
started this
I
process.
get it, but
Is there now.
you're
Yeah.
gonna do that in the near future.
So.
Does that have to be addressed if it's a land use issue?
It does, and it is. I would say that, taking a step back and setting everything else aside, I would say that the retail component that's being requested is probably the most consistent element that they would propose on this site with the master plan.
How's that
Because
possible
if
if
they
their
were
ordinance is
opening
against it?
if they were opening a retail store for anything else, that would be a permitted use.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, and again, in a vacuum, not, not considering other uses, not considering number of licenses, anything like that. If you're telling me that they wanted to take the site and open a retail store at that location, that would be as close to a permitted use as possible.
But it can't be cannabis because our ordinance
I-
clearly states no
I agree.
to
Like I said, I'm not,
No, but retail is-
right, sort of bifurcating that, saying, just from a use perspective, what you're expecting when you have a retail store is that people are driving to your store to come and purchase something and then leave. So again, setting everything else aside, the retail component would be as close to what's a permitted use in the zone as any other, or certainly more so than the growth or the manufacturing. Then, considering the cannabis side of it, I agree that we only have one license, and it's not consistent in that if one is permitted and one is used, then we don't have availability for it. So there's sort of competing interests there. I just wanted to highlight, like, from a purely land use perspective, a retail cannabis would be as close to a permitted use as, or closer to a permitted use than anything else that they're proposing. Whether that weighs into your recommendation, obviously there's other factors. There's a factor that there is no license. There's a factor that there's
So
another
it's not
operating
appropriate
business right across the
place for it,
street. Right. But I mean, ultimately, the highway commercial zone is trying, the underlying zoning of this site, which doesn't appear to be working, is trying to attract retail uses to the site. It hasn't been successful in the last 20 plus
Well, I
years.
think we should put a motion on the floor, Mr. President, and see what happens.
How long ago did you get this report from the engineers saying the building was okay?
That was probably 2018 or 19. That was when Ray Persia was involved. Because it wasn't submitted directly to me, it was submitted to the building office. 'Cause he was trying to get, I believe he pulled a permit to get a new roof, didn't he, Tom? So, in order for the code office, in order for the construction office to sign off on the roof building permit, he had to provide justification that the walls were sufficient to support a new roof. So that was, it didn't come to me, I was just aware of it. So it was submitted to the construction office, apparently the construction code official approved it, because ultimately they did get a roof reconstruction permit.
The
But I don't think it
walls,
was-
I would believe, are structural, but the roof and the rest is
Yeah.
falling in.
So they never, because that building, the roof was open in some spots there. They
Yeah.
never fixed all that?
No.
I don't know, I don't believe that it is. I mean, I can check on Aerial again. But from the last time I remember looking at it, they're still open.
So Ryan, explain the redevelopment process on a site like this. When it is referred to the land use board, after council says, hey, take a look at this, and we say, no, we don't want it, that's the end of it, or can council proceed, yeah, we hear what you're saying, but we disagree with you, and we're going to proceed with it anyhow? Does it work like that, or does it end with us?
So I'll defer to Damon to get started with that. Mine.
So, you're not sitting here to be a rubber stamp. That's the first thing. And while some may feel that, well, council has already, put the cart before the horse, that's not entirely accurate. This is your process, but the simple question that Ryan laid out was, is the proposed redevelopment plan consistent with the master plan? That's the question that is before you. There are a couple of, just from listening to this, there are a couple of things that, that strike out. First of all, before we even deal with the issue of their supplemental request of the retail portion, just the cannabis use itself for cultivation and manufacturing, is that consistent with the master plan? Well, we've already heard that the master plan predates legalized recreational cannabis. So we're already making an accommodation there to determine whether or not this is still going to be consistent with the plan. The second part of that is, and I think Mr. Frick acknowledged it, said that, well, you're talking about manufacturing and growth. Should this be in the industrial zone? That's something that you have to look at your master plan and consider that, should it be there? But there are other components to your master plan. And one that I would imagine, and Ryan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is economic development. Manufacturing and, and I heard a lot of folks talk about, saturation of the cannabis market and, what's happening in other municipalities. But reality is that the best thing for municipalities such as yours are manufacturing and cultivation type uses. Mr. Timbers brings other experience to this board from dealing with this directly, but because those are job creators. And that was going to be one of my questions as to when you were speaking with the proposed redeveloper, you said it was a national cannabis company. Did they propose how many jobs that they would be bringing into the community, things like that? Those are things that you actually have to consider, because when you're talking about economic growth, you're talking about job development, then those are things that are other drivers of what is coming into your community. All of a sudden, now you have folks that are could be working locally, or other folks that could be moving into your community from other areas. So the seminal question here is this consistent overall with the master plan? Is this going to be an economic driver? Is it going to be a job developer? Is it going to enhance tax revenue? We know that you're entitled as a host community to 2% tax. The good thing about cultivators and manufacturers, they're just not infiltrating your community and selling to your community. Their product is going throughout the entire state. And if it is a reputable national developer, this is someone, I can tell you that doing this, in Vineland, I represent the city of Vineland in cannabis matters, that they have a homegrown business that they brought in a national cultivator called Garden Greens. And Garden Greens is one of the most celebrated New Jersey cultivators throughout the state. They sell throughout the state, and they generate probably about an extra $1 million in tax revenue for the city of Vineland. They pay them $250,000 a quarter. I know that not from stories, I see the numbers. But this is what makes your board so diverse. And I said, all money isn't good money. We shouldn't be, chasing, certain dollars if they're not going to do the bare minimum to improve our gateway. And I say all this to say that we come back to the original question. This is the gateway redevelopment plan. This isn't the industrial redevelopment plan. It isn't, this is the gateway redevelopment plan. When that was drawn up, the project that is proposed now, is that consistent with what those folks that were developing it thought that, that this project would look like at that Acme site? So if it's not, and you reject the proposed ordinance, maybe you reject it and you send it back to council with some recommendations. And, you simply say, well, we don't think it's consistent with the master plan for these reasons. But I think you need to give, the bodies working together, you need to speak to them. This is your way to communicate to them and tell them, well, this is what we believe was the intent of the master plan at that site, and this is what the type of folks that you should be looking for, or if in fact you're going to go down this road, this is what we're gonna need to see.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, if you're saying to us, does it match what the original gateway? No, it doesn't. It's nowhere near what it was. Okay, but I do agree with you that if you can send a message back to council, that if they're going to want to negotiate, and this is what you think is the best usage that you can get at this time, then there has to be real improvement to the building. It can't just be a Band-Aid type of effect. You just can't go in and put a different facade on there and put a roof on, and because it's a cheap building, and fix up the parking lot. It's gotta be a real improvement. And money, and if it's a national company, I'm sure they're willing to spend the money. But there has to be. If you want something from us, this is what we want. But that's up to council to negotiate. This body can't negotiate it. It can only give a tacit approval of yes, it'll meet the standards, or it won't. If that's the simple question.
Are you aware of what the company is coming in? Ryan?
I don't recall. I was actually looking back through my emails now to see if I can find it. So I was not, from what I recall, the negotiations
There are
have been
MSO.
with council's redevelopment committee and the city solicitor.
Send it back to them, we'll come back with more information.
I mean, one other thing I would consider is that with these businesses, and they talked about another municipality, is that there's an assumption that is inaccurate, that if someone opens a location, that it will be successful. It's still a business. And there are a lot of people who have never had any background in this particular business that have been able to open some type of facility, whether it's retail,
Question.
grow, or what have you.
Question for you, Mr. Timbers.
Yes.
But are we talking about the same thing? A grower is a national grower, is different than a retail. So,
So the difference is that there are MSOs in every category. Right,
Multi-state operators.
yeah, but what I'm
And-
saying is that the retailer, I would agree, they maybe don't, but if he's a grower and he's a national one, that's a lot different than he has the experience. He knows what he's doing, I would think.
So to some extent, it's, all right, New Jersey, everything is supposed to be like new. Like, there's not a lot of diversity initially, but at some point, there will be diversity. So you'll have, I'm talking about of products, right? People will start making products, whether it's from clones or whatever, in New Jersey. So, like, if you've been to California and you go through there, you're gonna see way more products. If you go to Massachusetts, you're gonna see way more products than what you see here. But over time, there's gonna be more diversity. Right now, it's kind of homogeneous. So it really is up to your business acumen, how well you do. And there are a lot of people who have no business acumen at all, and they're struggling, as they should. So in larger cities that did not have caps, they're going to allow the market to some extent to control. People will get eaten up by larger, it's the animal kingdom. It's how it's going to work. So what happens is that there are people who have access to reporters, writers, and what they want to say is, oh, the municipality should do more to make sure that I'm successful. And actually, we should do nothing to ensure your success, other than allowing you to open. You have to compete in that marketplace on your own.
Mr. Timbers made a very, very excellent point in that the idea of cannabis cultivation and manufacturing, the common thought is that it's just making pre-rolled joints, or most people maybe even gummies. But it goes so far beyond that. The possibility, the realm of possibility for manufacturing, you could be talking about bottling beverages there. You could be talking about, creams, lotions, balms, edibles, bakeries. There are so many opportunities there, but as long as it's limited to, everyone just making the naturally consumable, smokable product, then you're right, they're going to be eating each other up. So, but it gets back to, what was the intent of the master plan? Is that a facility that should be tucked away in the industrial zone, you know,
I don't think the master plan ever intended to have a manufacturing of any type there.
of any type.
Okay,
That-
I don't care if it's building toothpicks,
Right.
right? It's not what we, with that location is part
That's,
of,
I mean, that's
part of the
that's the
intent.
first thing you're gonna see when you come into
Right.
Aquarium.
No, but it's.
No, it's not the first thing you're
It's,
gonna
it's,
see.
it's
What do you mean?
manufacturing.
What do you mean?
They're gonna see a couple red buildings.
Yeah,
I get
Either
that.
coming in or
and
leaving.
nobody wants them there either.
But manufacturing.
So
they're
now you
there.
just add to it, yeah.
Well, one, you may never know what it is. It's just a warehouse, and literally, you don't know what's going on inside of it.
Right.
Whereas that red barn, we all think we know what's going on inside of it.
I don't know.
I don't know either. but
I
think
don't think that's the
manufacturing-
spot for this.
What I do know is that this is your opportunity as a collective body to communicate to council.
Can I make a motion then?
Hold
I mean,
on.
we keep
I don't know
beating
if
this
everybody's
horse.
done talking. Well, hold on one second.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any comments they want to make?
Well, just like you said, the gateway, I mean, we're entering today Culver City from Milliken Township, and I think at the last meeting, maybe to the right, we have Massage Power. On the left-hand side, we'll be
Yeah.
out there. On the right-hand side, we're looking to put tractor trailers.
This
or
guy was
buildings,
worried.
And then.
This
and
guy
then-
was worried about the gateway when he stood up here at the
Because-
podium and talked. He was worried about it.
Because it may hurt him.
Yeah.
And so now we're putting a fourth thing right there that I don't think is desirable as a gateway. That's the entrance to the city. I mean, we have three wrongs, so
We
I do
have-
agree that, I mean, it's a building there and we need growth, but I think it belongs in the industrial zone for that. I mean, that's my thought. I mean, it's not what I think we envision the city when we pull up and see that. Just like you said, even though there's not a sign there, everybody knows what's gonna be going on there.
Right.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Well, but the revenue that it brings in, I know that's a strong temptation. I get it. I mean, I don't know that we'll see the kind of money that Vineland's getting, but you don't know, but it just doesn't feel right.
Oh, and by the way, just as City of Vineland has Garden Greens, which is a successful business, they also have an international multi-state operator called Columbia Care, which just filed for bankruptcy. Not because of how it's operated in Vineland or in New Jersey, but because they're overextended throughout the entire country and throughout the world. And they hold 3 licenses in Vineland. They hold a dispensary, a manufacturing, and a cultivation license. They are selling the dispensary in connection with the bankruptcy, selling the dispensary, and they are just walking away from the manufacturing and the cultivation. And that is supposedly a company that knew what they were doing. But they're gonna have 2 vacant sites in the city. So,
Ryan, if this is added to the master plan, cannabis, we never get another say about it, right? Anybody comes in that wants to, if this place doesn't go, anybody comes in that wants to do cannabis can go right in? We don't have a
So-
say?
When the master plan amendment is finalized, it comes here, because it's a document of the planning board. But we wouldn't, I mean, we're gonna incorporate cannabis uses essentially into the existing zones with amendments that are appropriate. So we wouldn't have cannabis manufacturing or any of the other cannabis growth, cultivation, delivery, I can't remember, there's a fourth one. Either way, we wouldn't have those uses as permitted uses in the highway commercial zone, just carte blanche, right? Right now, we updated the land use ordinance already to allow for those types of uses in the industrial park. We would, I guess at some point, we're gonna have to amend the land use ordinance to allow retail cannabis in the highway commercial and retail commercial zones contingent upon the availability of a license. So if the city only has 1 license for retail cannabis, for retail cannabis in the retail commercial zone, then even though it's a permitted use there, there's only 1 license, so you're not gonna have multiple shops. So the ordinance will need to be updated, but it will still reflect the types of businesses in the locations that we're looking for.
But that site would always be
Well, so
a
that
grow
site's,
site?
that site wouldn't be a grow site because it's in the highway commercial zone if you remove the redevelopment plan. The
Okay.
redevelopment plan provides for a whole different set of zoning for that site.
Okay.
It's, if you remove the redevelopment plan, it's an highway commercial zone. The redevelopment plan includes things like residential development. The Gateway Residential Rehabilitation Area is how it was originally founded, and there was 200 residential units proposed there. So,
I think that was Beezer Homes, I think.
yeah, Beezer Homes was the
Yeah.
original developer. It was amended, I want to say last in 2017, but those uses were still included. So there's a whole host of uses that are retail and/or residential based for all intents and purposes. One was like entertainment, a movie theater was permitted. There's multiple other, things like in similar, here we go. So in the most recent redevelopment plan, permitted uses were assisted living facility, bank, cultural, recreation, and entertainment uses, design shopping center, education, financial uses, food product uses, which does include bakeries, confectionaries, convenience stores, specialty. It does specifically say though, non-manufacturing. Fully enclosed eating and drinking establishments, general business, institutional uses, medical and related uses, minor repair operations, motion picture theaters, personal service and custom craft uses, plants, animals, and related uses such as animal clinics, hospitals, retail florists, garden supply, etc. Public buildings and uses, professional offices, quasi-public establishments, which would be non-profit, religious, or other institutional, providing educational, cultural, religious, or recreational similar type programs. Recreational and entertainment uses, such as community and recreation centers, bowling alleys, health clubs, exercise, tennis, golf, etc. Retail stores and service establishments, retail shops or stores engaged in limited fabrication or processed goods, which that's specifically defined in the ordinance as a business that does limited manufacturing in a certain square footage, usually 50% or less of the building, and then has a retail component. So like if you, let's say you're a cabinet maker and you make cabinets in the back and you have a retail store in the front, like that would be something that would be permitted use. So that is the full list of the uses that were in the redevelopment plan to this point.
And that was last time when?
That was 2017.
Anybody else have anything else they want to say?
It looks like, so distribution probably would not qualify. So if someone wanted to do that.
Delivery?
Delivery?
Yeah, so the city currently has allowed delivery uses in the industrial zone, like to be based out of the industrial zone. So yeah, the retail was the only cannabis-related use allowed in the retail, commercial, and highway commercial districts. All 5 other allowable cannabis uses were relegated to the industrial zones.
So I think it goes back to what Damon, and you had said that probably the only thing that would qualify would be retail. And we already would have an ordinance that wouldn't permit the retail there. So the other uses, manufacture, distribution, I don't see 6, which is the delivery. It looks like you couldn't have those there.
Yeah, if you remove the redevelopment plan and it was in the underlying highway commercial zone exclusively, then correct. Retail would be the only use that would be permitted there. And the other 5 would not be permitted just based on the highway commercial zone.
All right, anybody else? John, you wanted to make a
I'd like to make a
motion?
motion that we refer this back to council, that redevelopment zone, we already have an ordinance for cannabis. Okay, retail is allowed in that facility, but not cannabis retail. It's very clear in our ordinance for cannabis. No manufacturing is allowed as per our master plan. We're not looking to change it. I think the uses that are in the master plan are pretty expansive, and there's a lot of opportunity for someone, but this just isn't it. I don't know how to word that. That's your job.
I think there was an ordinance that was referred to the land use board, an ordinance adopting an amendment to the redevelopment plan for the Gateway rehabilitation area. So since we like to make motions in the affirmative, I would assume the motion would be to reject the amendment, the proposed amendment.
Correct.
Because you're making a finding that it is not, I'm not putting words in your mouth, you haven't voted yet. But the motion would be to reject the proposed amendment to the Gateway rehabilitation area,
It doesn't meet the master plan,
because it doesn't meet the
the
master.
existing master plan.
I think that's the only choice you have. But, I mean, I'm only voting on it because, am I allowed to vote on this? Frank?
I believe so.
Am I?
Well, actually.
Carl and I probably can't
you're
even
not
vote on
voting.
it.
Referral?
Yeah,
It's
no,
next to council, so you're not allowed to.
yeah, no, you're not allowed
You
to.
can refer it back to yourself.
My only gripe is, the retail. I don't believe that should be there. And-
No, and that's when the motion is made and you guys open it up to discussion, although we've already had a robust discussion. What I'm hearing from you, Mayor, is that you would permit the cultivation and growth of marijuana in that area, not the retail. But there are some other board members, obviously, that have some other issues, but you're not going to be voting on that.
No, but I would just like to say, citizens in Egg Harbor are very confused about taxes. The city has not had a municipal purpose tax increase in 6 years. And if you talk to your neighbor, they won't believe you. This year, we have a 2-cent tax increase. And that includes absorbing, just one example, $95,000 increase in salaries for the police department, which I'm not opposed to, because we need a police department. But, you have to think about those things, that even though, you say we're grasping at low-hanging fruit, anyone who has had a seat on council knows very well that we get blamed for high taxes when it's really not, at least for the past 7 years, isn't us.
And by the way, I misspoke. The motion would be to adopt the ordinance, so you would say yes or no, to adopt the amendment, since we're making it in the affirmative. So if you want to adopt the amendment, it would be yes, and permit cannabis cultivation in that area, it would be a yes vote. If you do not agree that it's consistent with the master plan, it would be a no vote.
But that also includes the retail.
That includes, that's everything.
That's the whole,
That's the
all
whole
the wax.
ordinance, yeah.
Caboodle.
Oh, so you can't just say,
Can't separate.
Well-
can't separate it?
Did they include?
Well, it'd be,
It could, but that was kind of a minor component of the,
Yeah, that's,
I would agree with the mayor.
I don't think they have interest in having a 20,000 square foot retail location. I think they wanted to have cultivation in the back with a minor retail.
Were you born
The,
when that
um,
was discussed at Bay Gateway? The city signed,
So what happens,
This is
Damon,
our agreement.
if we
so were you part of it?
we do not approve the
Which means that
amendment,
They already signed.
what's the next step?
Our agreement.
When they did this, who did this?
Chris is on.
Chris Orlando did?
So will we be overstate?
It couldn't have
Gonna
happened.
fix the typo?
No typos.
There is.
Well, not that we're.
The whereas,
Oh,
they put
okay.
two whereases together in one paragraph.
You understand what I'm saying?
I fixed that.
I think that would have been premature. This synopsis that you gave us on the, here, take glass. The first bullet point following is a summary of the redevelopment plan amendment. It's stating on bullet point 1 that the development agreement was signed, but I don't believe I recall that happening.
So, you would have to strike, if you did not
Chris's
want,
office prepared this item.
if you didn't want retail, you would have to strike 6.4.3 subsection B, which identifies a class 5 license, which is a retail dispensary.
Right.
You can't sign a redevelopment agreement
And I think it's 3 and 4.
As well as,
Third
Yes, you
page
could.
of the ordinance, I believe it is at the bottom.
yes. That's, yeah, 6.4.3 subsection B, where it mentions that, I'm looking for anywhere it says, identifies a class 5.
I don't see D.
B,
B.
6.4.3B.
The bottom says class 5 there.
That's just addressing setbacks, the way I'm reading it.
That's what mine said.
Yeah,
I
I think you would strike B. I think you would strike B
I have a
altogether.
You
different-
strike B altogether.
And then in
I have a
A,
different
at least strike the 3 and 4, right? I think you might have to strike
In
that.
that whole section.
Strike, yeah, strike A and B.
Oh, is it B?
B, I thought you said.
I thought you said, wait a minute, I don't have.
You-
A
can see.
identifies,
B.
Oh, here it is. Any business having a valid license written issued in New Jersey.
It says from which one is operating.
So based on the summary and the reading of 641B1,
Yeah.
I believe the intent was to allow for any of the
Any
state licensed cannabis uses. That's all right.
and what I'm hearing from the board is that, they don't want retail.
Some don't want retail, some don't want
Yeah. So,
Right.
Well,
So,
I guess.
so the suggestion would be to, if, it would be to reject it and with the comments that you would consider, perhaps consider, cannabis use under the right circumstances, but certainly not retail.
Or absent an amendment to the master plan.
Absent, well, the master plan is gonna come.
Right now, no.
As Ryan indicated, that's your document ultimately. That's gonna be something that the planning board develops. I mean,
But the question right now is, does the master plan permit it?
well,
No, it clearly doesn't.
right, so the intent of the review and recommendation is not, is it in the master plan, does the master plan allow it? Is it consistent with the goals of the master plan?
Well, it depends, because like, if we're looking at economic development,
Sure.
that's actually.
that's,
Well, right, so it's, right, you have to weigh on the whole, is it consistent with the goals of the master plan? Obviously, it's consistent with some, it's inconsistent with others. It's up to
Right.
the board to decide whether it's consistent enough, I guess I'll say. Is the proposal consistent with the intent of the master plan? Do the positives, however they're advanced and whatever they are, do they outweigh the negatives to be consistent with the goals of the master plan? So.
I would much rather see them go back and negotiate and see whether they can, what they're getting out of this, because nobody really knows what this is going to be.
So I don't know that this board would be allowed to base its decisions on that information.
No, but they could hold it off the next month
Well,
till
if
they
we
get
tell
further
them,
information.
if we tell
Yeah.
them no, they can still go back and
Yeah, they
look
could,
at what they want and see, and come to the board again at any time they want.
they would have to amend the redevelopment plan. They couldn't send the same
they
redevelopment
can't.
plan amendments
Okay.
back to the board.
They have to amend it first. and then
It would
go.
have, right, there would have to be some amendments made and then a referral back to the board for reconsideration of the revised amendments.
and, if this is voted down, I would write the solicitor a letter explaining that the board didn't feel it was consistent, number one. Number two, that all the retail uses are permitted within the former Acme redevelopment zone, that the board didn't feel that a cannabis retail use was appropriate at the location.
But the manufacturing and that,
So, not to throw a wrench in that comment, but the irony is, if they were to
Yeah, I
abandon the
know.
redevelopment
I know.
plan and they were to acquire the cannabis license from across the street, they could open a retail cannabis in that location without any coming back to the board.
Across the street.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
They can't do it for 2 years though,
why is that?
because you can't change ownership for 2 years.
Oh, they
Now,
couldn't
they-
sell that.
Yeah,
For the city
that's-
license.
but if we were to do this, that's probably what's gonna happen anyway. They're just gonna relocate it.
But yeah, so in the highway commercial zone, a retail cannabis license, or retail cannabis is a permitted use in the highway commercial zone. So if they abandoned the redevelopment plan and they wanted to open just retail cannabis in that building, if they could find a way to acquire the license and that 2-year prohibition expires, they could open retail cannabis in that building. They wouldn't have any manufacturing, they wouldn't have any cultivation, they wouldn't have anything else. But in theory, just by what the zoning would allow, they could open a retail.
But it wouldn't create another
Cannabis
retail, it wouldn't create an additional
They
retail.
would have to get the license from the current.
Or the city would have to allow another retail.
Correct, exactly. I just don't want to,
Yeah, no,
It's
you're-
difficult.
You're exactly right.
right, we don't want to make a referral to the board that we don't, or I'm sorry, back to the city council, that we don't feel that a retail cannabis is appropriate at this location. in
Because it's
theory,
already been deemed
That's a permitted use.
appropriate across the street.
Right, so it'd be a kind of circular part. That's my concern.
Well, it's like a liquor license. You're only allowed to have so many of them in town, so.
Agreed, but if they could acquire the cannabis license from across the street, they could move it to this location and open a retail business because it's permitted use in the highway commercial zone.
But we're more concerned about the cultivation, I think, isn't that?
Just the retail, that's all I'm talking about.
Right, oh, right.
So if they could buy out Atlantic
They can move it
Flower
over there,
and
yeah.
wait out the 2-year period or whatever was left on that, they could buy out that license and move it to the Acme building and open a retail
It's already
based on the
covered
city's
under
current
ordinance.
zones.
But there would still only be 2. in the
That's
city.
correct, they're right,
And
exactly.
there's
Their
already-
limitation, the city's limitation on the number of Class 5
Right,
dispensaries
it's 2.
overrides all of this
Correct.
for this conversation. But what is and I've heard,
We don't
Some
need a
different
new
things.
ordinance. We already
No.
have an ordinance that says if one goes away, they could go there. So why do we need to add it to a new ordinance?
So they
I
want
don't
to,
in
think
case
it
they
actually
create
said it could
another
go
license.
there.
they want to include retail and other cannabis uses so that they could have like a combination type facility where they could grow, manufacture, and have retail together.
Right.
That would not be permitted in the highway commercial zone.
Right. But that is the ideal, vertical
Right.
integration.
But that's kind of what I was getting at when I was addressing Lisa's point earlier, was that the only point that would be permitted by itself of the current proposal is
is the
retail.
retail. And, I've heard some competing thoughts here that, that cultivation and manufacturing, although that wasn't originally envisioned for this redevelopment zone, I've heard that, well, there are other reasons why that may be a driving factor. Those are things that you're gonna have to reconcile as a board. So, the motion would be to adopt the redevelopment plan for the Gateway Rehabilitation Area. If it's voted down, you should give them some direction as to.
Give them a reason why you're voting
what
in
you're
that.
looking for.
Yeah, so can I read one more piece, just so you have one last piece of context? Straight from the master plan, in the section entitled White Horse Pike Corridor, which it says includes the Gateway Residential and Old Lake Harbor Boat Company. It lists 5 objectives for this corridor. The first is evaluation of existing uses along the corridor and encourage highway commercial uses that do not compete with the downtown businesses. The second, improve appearance of businesses along the corridor. The third, develop design criteria for automobile scaled signage and streetscape elements along the corridor. The fourth, introduce traffic calming devices to attenuate congestion. And the fifth is encourage development of vacant and/or underutilized parcels. So, in the master plan, and again, each of those have competing elements with this proposal, but I just wanted you all to, have those elements from the master plan. Those are the stated goals for the White Horse Pike Corridor.
Okay. Mr. Tyner, how do you want to say this, or how do you want to officially make the motion?
I would ask if,
Well, we need a second on that motion, right? Somebody second the motion?
I'll second.
Okay.
so the motion is to adopt an ordinance, an amendment to the redevelopment plan for the Gateway Rehabilitation Area. Who's the motion?
John,
John is the motion.
second Keith.
Mr. Molyneux is the second. Discussion.
Now, this ordinance permits all three usage.
This current ordinance would permit all cannabis uses. You could,
So if you're opposed to retail and you just want manufacturing, you have to vote no.
Right.
You could offer a competing motion that excluded retail.
that excludes retail.
If you feel that everything else is appropriate, but retail should be excluded. you
In other words, make another motion.
Yeah,
And by
but
the way,
afterwards.
this is belt and suspenders, because your other ordinance already precludes them from opening a retail
At this time.
at this time.
Right, without the acquisition license.
Okay.
So if there's an offer to amend the motion, to adopt this motion with the exception.
Would that be
of-
done afterwards, though, if
of
it
retail.
fails?
If it fails.
Yeah.
So there's motion, second. There's been discussion. You want to take a roll call vote?
And you want a reason for your vote,
Yeah.
or no?
Mr. Timbers.
No.
And you need a reason.
Mr. Gore?
No, I feel that it's not consistent with the master plan.
Mr. Walker?
I say no, and I have a few reasons why. It's not consistent with the plan, with the master plan, and we've already discussed another building over there that is, I consider it not a very good gateway business, and I would feel as if we were creating how would you say it, a bad vibe coming into the city there. I'll say it like that, so I'll say no.
Mr. Molyneux?
I'm gonna say no for the retail.
You can't do that, you have to say no for everything or nothing.
I thought he said he could do
We're
it.
gonna
If it
introduce a
fails,
second.
they'll do
Oh,
nothing.
oh,
We'll
my
introduce.
bad. It doesn't fit the plan.
Torres?
No.
And your reason?
I think that there's a hidden agenda somewhere in here from reading the paperwork and hearing all the discussions. And I think there's more that meets the eye from what is being suggested and was being planned.
Mr. Frick?
No, and I agree that it doesn't meet the master plan.
Mr. Peterson?
No, for reasons stated during our discussions in the conflict with master plan.
And Mr. Dennis?
Oh, I vote no. It's not consistent with the master plan, but also it permits the retail sale, and I think that is not healthy for that area.
Now, if the board would consider making a motion to adopt the ordinance number 10/2026 with striking the retail sale of cannabis as a permitted use.
For discussion purpose, I will make that motion.
Second?
Discussion? Motion is second.
We do not have a second.
I'll second.
Second?
I thought there was a second.
Yeah.
You have one there.
Tom was calling for a second. I'm like, wait a second.
Can you clarify that?
Yeah, so the motion would be to adopt the ordinance, but striking the retail sale of cannabis at that site.
But the cultivation would be
Yes.
agreeable.
Yes.
With necessary improvements to the site consistent with the master plan, not just, you know,
Well,
as I read here, the discussion in here of the improvements that would be required.
so, and that would be stuff that would go into the redeveloper agreement, but they would have to, you know, it's consistent, could be deemed consistent with evaluating the highway commercial uses, improving the appearance of that structure, encouraging the development of vacant or underutilized property, certainly. As far as the traffic calming devices, I'll leave that to Ryan.
No, I think that.
But 3 of the 5 could still fit in.
Yeah.
I think the mayor made a good point with the economic value of this and that, and I think that's important, but I think that they have to negotiate the real improvements to the property or else it doesn't work. If the guy's willing to make it a first-class operation. But that's up to council, they have to negotiate that. They have to be the ones that, you know, bring the thing to where it needs to be. I think they need the tools.
Well, I know we want to let them know what we want, but would that
Yes.
be handled at the site plan?
Here, they would
stage?
come back here. They're not exempt from coming here.
No, I realize that, but can you put those kind of conditions on this
You can add,
this
You
redevelopment?
can make that part of your recommendation back to city council, that
Understood.
council, you know, take that and weigh that in discussions with the redeveloper.
and I think you put into the resolution, it goes back to council, that if significant improvements are not made to the site, it's not gonna be received cordially by the planning board, because that's one of the things that need to be done. I think they have to know up front, put it part of the resolution, that it can't just be a Band-Aid type improvement, it's gotta be made a first-class operation.
So the recommendation would be, in order to be consistent with the master plan, it would need to be a significant visual improvement. It would need to, you know, further the goals and advance the goals of the master plan.
Right. Can you clarify, cultivation and manufacturing are 2 separate things, correct?
2 separate things.
Sort of-
Cultivation.
They're licensed separately.
Yeah.
They're licensed separately.
Certain things mingled together. I just wanted to get clarity that cultivation and manufacturing are not one and the same.
Cultivation is the actual growth of the plant.
Shit, I gotta take my medicine, I
Thereafter,
thought it'd be done.
and it's grown, it's cured. Thereafter, the manufacturing, utilizing the plant, utilizing the cannabis, the THC and everything else to manufacture something could take on many different, you know, visuals.
As long as it's not manufacturing, because I don't want to open the door for other manufacturing of any type, regardless of cannabis or not.
Well, you did,
The master plan doesn't allow it, so that's why I wanted to clarify cultivation as compared to manufacturing.
So, in that case, it would be striking the retail, it would be striking class 5 and class 2.
Make it as narrow and acceptable as possible.
And
So
class 1 manufacturing.
Just-
Class 1 cultivation would be.
just for the board's benefit, manufacturing includes just packaging for retail sale. So if it's just cultivation, you could just grow it, and then you would have to take it somewhere else to bag it, to
But we
to make it, to
allow
send it
it.
to stores. The manufacturing license.
And that's what I was
includes
trying to,
Just packaging.
That's why I was confused, because I thought there was, I mean,
manufacturing could be bottling, it could be baking, it could be so many
it's so
different
broad.
things.
Right, but it's-
It could be making lozenges.
But it also includes just
Yeah, packaging.
cutting up and putting in a package for retail sale.
But when you want that as part of the operation,
The place probably,
It's up
want-
to
they
you
probably
guys.
want to be vertically integrated as much as possible.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why I said if there is a retail place near it, they probably will at some point acquire it.
for the benefit of to get the best bang out of your buck, in my opinion, in my professional opinion, you want to give them the flexibility to have cultivation and manufacturing.
As long as they
It's not
can't
gonna
sell
change
it.
the look
They're
of
not
the
selling
building
it.
or anything.
You could condition it to say that it would be limited to manufacturing of product cultivated on site, so that it doesn't become a giant
That's
manufacturing.
it, they
That's-
can't, yeah.
Manufacturing is a complementary.
Can't bring it in.
So, yeah, if they have to process to get it out the door.
Right, that's why I wanted to bring that up.
That, I hate to say it, kind of makes sense. You're not gonna grow a tomato, take the plant, get somebody else to pick it.
That's why I wanted to bring up, like, just bagging it is considered manufacturing. So if you don't allow them to do manufacturing, they can grow it there and then take it somewhere else just to put it in a bag is kind of,
Then we don't get as
But if-
much profit out of it.
certainly. But if you, you could live, like I said, you could condition the manufacturing to be limited to the cultivation that occurs at the
On the site. That's-
So again, it's just a complementary use and not, exclusive manufacturing.
Okay.
So basically, our concern is, I mean, we're concerned about, I think overall the building, it's just, it's been an eyesore for years and years and years. And just look at the people across the street, the residential neighborhood. I mean, I'm sure they understand something's gonna happen over there because it is highway commercial. But we're just, everybody's afraid that, same thing, as you're putting lipstick on a pig. Is they're just gonna stick a sign out there?
I can't miss this.
Yeah.
Totally be done.
All right, so we have a motion.
So-
Before we do the motion, I'd like to open it up for the public. I did not open it up for the public. Is there anybody in the public who would like to speak? Do you have an opinion on this, Mr. Haas?
I had an opinion, I didn't think it's in the growth development zone, in my perspective, to come to the city and see that. That's just my opinion. And my other concern would be is, from the growing manufacturing standpoint, how would that affect the local community or the houses with the so-called odors of the manufacturing, because everybody complains they put all these carbon filters and all that in.
Doesn't work.
I do the road cleanup on Van Avenue, I can smell that site all the way over there at the Laces. When I do the road cleanup on Cologne Avenue, I can smell the site that's on Cologne Avenue at the old irrigation plant.
Right.
And they're supposed to have the best filtering system above and beyond what the state called for. So I don't know how that would affect the neighbors, because I know if I was a neighbor, I wouldn't want
It's
to
residential.
smell that every day. But
There's no public here.
Okay, thank you,
I have
Mr.
a
Hess.
I have a question. I don't know if it can be answered right now, but my question is, how much are they willing to invest in this building? How much?
That's what we'll find out, Gladys. That's why they have to go back and, when they tell him he's gotta put up a decent building and meet the standards, we're gonna know.
Right,
Or else, if he comes back to us, then he's gonna have to meet it. If he doesn't, then it's on him.
And assuming you approved it, you would have to come back to the board. The last applicant we had at the site, we made them provide architectural elevation plans, so we could see exactly like what is the building.
Yeah, but there really is we've had a guy come in here with 12-inch concrete walls, and another guy came in here with a greenhouse.
So those were in the industrial park, so we were a little more open. For
Okay.
here, it would be held to the city's design standards.
Okay.
For any business in the corridor.
Okay.
Brian, they still
The
gotta get
scrubbing
pilot.
machines that he's gonna have to put in.
With the
And air
nitrogen restrictions,
So
is that gonna work?
It's just a change of use. So they're not changing.
No, the nitrogen, don't they still have to deal with that?
They don't have to deal with stormwater because they're not increasing impervious surface. So.
Wait a minute, don't they have to do the whole
All right,
parking
Mr.
lot?
Tyner,
No.
to get something.
Just reconstruct.
We got a guy.
So-
It's not
I
new.
got, yeah, I got certain.
Yeah, all right, so
Take-
we're gonna
take-
call
I
it
gotta
a
take on a
vote.
regular basis. I don't
There
really
was a
want
motion,
to. And I gotta eat before I take it.
there was a motion to adopt, to make a recommendation to city council to pass an ordinance adopting an amendment to the redevelopment plan for the Gateway Rehabilitation Area, with the exception of, or striking the retail sale of cannabis, which is a Class 5 license, and limiting, permitting cultivation and manufacturing limited to the product that is cultivated on site. So that's the motion, that is the second. You need a vote to, yes vote would
Roll
be
call done.
to make it with those recommendations.
This is the third motion?
Second one, this is still the second one.
Okay.
First one, we rejected.
Right.
Okay.
I think the first vote was about minutes, right?
Motion's all over. Mr. Guard,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
No.
Mr. Molyneux?
Let me give my reason. I have voted yes on every grow that we had in this city, and I just don't think that this is the right spot for it. I'd like to see that area have something really nice in it when you enter the city. And I'm just against it. It's a residential area, so I just would have to vote no on that.
Mr. Molyneux?
Yes.
Mrs. Torres?
No,
Do you want to give a reason or
no, I,
no? Mr. Frick?
No. I just, I kind of agree. I don't think it's the place for it.
Mr. Peterson?
No.
Mr.
Yes.
It's a vote of 4 noes, 3 yeses, so the motion fails. So there will be a letter sent to City Council indicating that the planning board chose not to approve the proposed ordinance, adopting an amendment to the Gateway Rehabilitation Area. You have to go back to the drawing board, we'll come back. and
Okay,
something
I
different.
don't think this minutes by the end of February.
Turn it back over to you, Mr. Walker.
Okay, we're gonna move on to old business. We have no old business.
no.
Council report? Do you have a council report?
Just that, come to the Memorial Day service on Monday. I think it starts at 11 this year, but you might want to check Facebook. That's about it. Really,
Okay.
I do have a intern. She might be here the next meeting from Penn State. She's gonna help out at City Hall. She's gonna help Donna out for a few weeks and then help the police out for a couple weeks.
Nice.
So it'll be interesting and hopefully you'll get to meet her. She's learned a lot already today from Donna and, it's all good stuff.
How about the citywide cleanup? How that turned
We
out?
get,
Is that who answered the phone, Donna, while you were at home?
2.87 tons of trash was
Is that who answered
collected,
the phone while you were?
265
She did good.
volunteers, so it's a very,
Very
And
professional.
that's,
about
Yes.
the same.
look in 1 year, that much garbage is
Think
tossed.
about doing it for 18 years, do that now.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
how
it's
much trash
scary.
has been pulled out of the
It's
city.
scary that people don't learn.
You know, just
Year to
toss
year.
it out the window.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything else only because I wasn't at the last council meeting because most of you know that Meg's son Jeffrey got married and moved down to Florida for the wedding. So, but nothing really new that, unless you have some questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions, anything? Okay, moving on, public comments. Have anybody in the public that would like to speak again?
No, I'd just like to know, Lisa, how many organizations do you have? Do you have any idea for Memorial Day?
Same as last year, and we added one. So I'm gonna say, I don't remember because I think I'm bullet pointed and not numbered on my sheet. Probably close to 20, I guess.
Okay, question and comments from the board? All good? Motion to adjourn. Second?
Hey, I meant to tell you, I haven't seen you the other week.
Well, I'm leaving.
I knew it served you.
Oh, yeah. He stopped being for a second. Is there a